News at 4 begins now.
Hi everyone. Some say it's starting to feel like the never-ending winter, right? Temperatures did finally climb a bit today. The sun was shining, but we're in for another change. Welcome everyone. I'm Jane McCarthy alongside Mark Hanrahan.
Yeah, we're going to get straight to meteorologist Thomas Patrick in the Weather Center tonight, talking weather this afternoon. Thomas?
Yeah, Mark and Jane, and I'll tell you what, there is some good and bad news with our forecast, and I'm going to start with the good news. Look at the temperatures, and we've got a few spots that are in the 40s. In fact, St. Mary's, 44 as of this hour. Moscow, you were just at 40. You're now at 39. And even Spokane above the freezing mark at 36. That's the great news. The bad news is that it's been so cold so recently is that it does feel kind of like the never-ending winter. Even today was still well below average. We had a low of -1 to kick off the month of March, and that was a record low, and we saw it set some more record lows in a couple other areas yesterday morning. As for tonight and tomorrow, there's now snow in the mix, starting in our western communities during the morning hours, and then it's a rain, snow, wintry mix throughout the afternoon and evening hours later in the day. There are some winter weather advisories to the south, but I'll let you know how much snow or rain you may be expecting on your way for tomorrow. Those details in just a few minutes.
All right, Thomas, thank you. A Spokane County home caught fire today after firefighters say a family tried to thaw frozen pipes with an open flame. Firefighters say the home is a total loss. It happened this morning on West Smythe Road. Family members say they tried to put out the fire using snow, but it did not work. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Thousands of people in the southeast are starting a massive cleanup that is sure to take weeks. This comes after the country's deadliest tornado outbreak in nearly 6 years.
Dozens of tornadoes hit Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina on Sunday. Whitney Ward joins us from the newsroom now with the very latest. Whitney.
Good afternoon, both of you. The National Weather Service says the tornado that ripped through Lee County, Alabama on Sunday was an EF4 with winds up to 170 miles an hour. 23 people were killed, including at least 3 children, and many people are still missing tonight. The youngest known victim is 6-year-old AJ Hernandez. His 10-year-old brother was also severely injured, as was the boy's father. Fortunately, both of them are expected to recover. Another family lost 7 relatives in the disaster.
Just pray for them. I know they're going to have some issues. I'm sure there's some families that, especially the family that lost 7, there's going to be some financial issues there. They've got 7 funerals that they're going to have to finance somehow.
Meteorologists are warning more severe weather could come through the area this weekend. President Trump announced today he will travel to Alabama on Friday to visit those devastated communities. I'll send it back to you, Jane and Mark.
Whitney, thank you very much. Meantime, President Donald Trump approved a major disaster declaration for Washington state. The funding will help with recovery efforts from that tornado that hit Port Orchard. This was in December. Those federal funds will go to the state, tribal, and local governments to help cover costs. December's tornado caused $18 million in damage.
A local company is on a mission to reduce homelessness for those struggling with addiction or mental illness in Spokane.
KREM 2's Kiara Elfallen tells us more about the new smartphone app.
Yes, well, this is Life Connect. It's an app that was designed by the president and CEO of a local company called Life Recovery Solutions. Now, the purpose of the app is not to be a virtual high five for people who are struggling so they can meet a set of goals. Rather, it's actually supposed to connect people who are struggling with mental illness, with homelessness, and also with drug addiction. It's supposed to connect them with treatment providers and also resources.
Have you contacted the Spokane Homeless Coalition?
Didn't know about them.
Spokane Homeless Coalition is a great place to start.
The voice you just heard is Zoe, a virtual assistant who acts as a confidant for those struggling and using the phone app. She is constantly checking in with clients of the app to see how they are doing, how they are feeling, and to connect them with resources or even directly with their treatment providers. The app launched in January of this year, and the creators say connecting these clients with a positive network of friends, family, or resources is going to be a game changer for Spokane's homeless problem.
Mayor Condon told us that they're spending $8.5 million. That's what they spent last year to house homeless. All of these services are out there. They just don't know how to find them. So with our software, we can connect them to all that services to move them up hope, meaning, and purpose and get them off of the streets.
We're not dreamers to believe we're going to be able to help 100% of the people. But even if we could help half of those people, what a difference it would make in their lives and the lives of their family.
Ed Stevenson says many people who are suffering from homelessness, drug addiction, or mental illness tend to isolate themselves, but through the app they are always connected. The first version was built about 3.5 years ago and tested on a recovery group of about 12 people. According to Stevenson, of that group, only one person relapsed. The app is actually first given to treatment providers, and then they give that to their clients. Now, if you're wondering how people in the homeless population are accessing this app, from research the company has done, they have found that most of the population here in Spokane has a smartphone, so they have access to this app. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Interesting stuff there. In other news, a local elementary school recently started a GQ club for 5th grade boys, but at night, it's not what you might be thinking. The Moscow teacher who started the club says the GQ stands for genuine quality. The club promotes leadership and kindness. Today we dropped in as the students were writing thank you notes.
You know, dress to impress is kind of the motto that we use when we first bring it up.
Well, the students even wear ties for their events, and we'll hear from them coming up on KREM 2 News at 5 tonight.
Nice.
Looking sharp.
Well, experts are calling it a breakthrough for HIV, the virus that causes AIDS. A London man appears to be free of the virus after receiving stem cell treatments.
For only the second time in history, researchers believe they have cured an HIV-infected patient. The virus is potentially deadly. The latest person, known as the London patient, had leukemia and received a stem cell transplant to treat the cancer.
I knew I was the only person cured of HIV at that point, and I didn't want to be the only person.
Timothy Ray Brown is known as the Berlin patient, the first person cured of the virus after having 2 stem cell transplants. He almost passed away from complications, but recovered and is still HIV-free. Researchers say they are also working with a 3rd patient who may be free of the virus as well. That patient has been off medications now for the past 4 months.
Wow. Well, Democrats are ramping up their investigations looking into President Trump, and the White House is pushing back. The House Judiciary Committee is requesting documents from 81 people and entities connected to President Trump. Democrats in the House are also expanding their investigation to look into his relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
We want to know what went on in the meeting where Putin and Trump were alone. Why can't we have know what happened there?
House Democrats are also asking the State Department interpreter who was in the room to testify in public and turn over her notes.